I thought Max wasn't allowed to talk about Boomer Bust at vacation. I'm in the bathroom hiding.
Yeah, I'm in the bathroom hiding.
Welcome to another episode of Boom or Bust, the draft show. Max Chadwick alongside PJ Clark, Tate, Sigworth, and Nick Merriam. Another scouting report for you guys. It's probably our most requested one. Alabama corner Patrick Surtain. Go over his strengths, his weaknesses, where he ranks for us on our boards, give player comps for him, and what NFL teams he might fit at the next level. Of course, be sure to follow our Twitter and Instagram at Boom or Bust Draft, YouTube, anywhere you get podcasts. We have websites with more in-depth articles and mock drafts and yada, yada, yada. Be sure to check that out in the link below. Please like and subscribe to the channel as well. So let's go over the background on Mr. Pat Surtain. He's the most requested video by you, the commenters. Number 11 right now on the official Boomer Bust Big Board 1.0. Number 1 corner. He's a junior. He's 6'2", 202 pounds. Former 5-star recruit, number 6 overall, and number 1 corner in 2018 coming out of Florida. He was a first-team AP All-American this year and a finalist for the Bednarik, Lott, Nagurski, and Thorpe Awards. This season, 9 pass breakups, 1 interception that he returned for a touchdown, and allowed a passer rating when targeted of 67.4, and he was PFF's highest-graded corner this year at 89.9. And in his career, 24 pass breakups, 4 picks, and a passer rating when targeted of 68.7. And he's the son of Patrick Surtain II, who was a 2-time All-Pro
is that how that works?
Yes. Yeah, the senior. 2-time All-Pro corner on the Dolphins and Chiefs. So, Nick, let's start with you. When you watch Pat Surtain, what do you like the most? The younger one.
The younger one, well, it's funny, still is great at it. He's experienced, which you don't get to say a lot with corners. He's played for a long time at Alabama. He's seen a lot of different receivers who've already been drafted in the NFL. And you can kind of tell that he is either a tape grinder or just very used to playing the position. He's ready for everything that comes at him, anything people throw at him. He plays man like he's playing zone because he, honest to God, at this point has seen just about everything as long as he's been in college. He's pro ready at this position. You're not going to have to coach him much. He's improved as a tackler. He cut down yak. Here's a little math for you that I did on my own. From 4.6 yards per catch to 4 yards a catch. He went from about 140 yards yak allowed to around 80. It was really good right there. Shadows movement well. He's very efficient, calm and in control of his body movements. Brilliant at keeping everything in front of him. Very disciplined player at the defensive back position.
I mean, I think Pat Surtain is an A-plus man corner, by far the best in this draft. I mean, he's a plug and play immediately. He doesn't get the ball thrown at him that much, especially this year. But when he did, you mentioned it, 9 pass breakups, active with the hands. I think he's going to be fine in his own scheme, but that's not what I would draft him for. I think he's an A+++ man corner, and Nick brought it up. I think he's a very good tackler, which is not something you see out of college defensive backs, especially. So that's just a plus on the outside at the NFL level.
Yeah, so you guys two talked about size, 6'2", 200. It's the NFL size. He's day one ready. Man coverage is obviously his best attribute. He's only thrown at every 10 coverage snaps and only allowed a reception every 25 coverage snaps, which is the first in the nation. And then a couple little things. He didn't allow a penalty this year. He didn't have any penalties this year, which is down from 6 last year, and that's huge. No sloppy mistakes in coverage this year. You guys mentioned his tackling. He only has 11 missed tackles in 3 years, which for corners, tackling is not usually the strong suit, so that's really impressive. And then Nick mentioned it. He's a 3-year starter at Alabama, so he's really seen a lot of stuff, well experienced, and I mean, you guys mentioned it. He can play on day one and be your best corner on your team.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, you guys hit it. I mean, he's a lockdown corner who routinely followed the opposition's best receiver. Opposing teams often avoid looking his way altogether. I mean, even in that playoff game, Brian Kelly even said, he was like, all right, so what are you going to look at on defense for Alabama? And he was like, we're not throwing at Pat Surtain. And they barely threw it his way at all. Excellent size, 6'2", 202. With that size, like you guys mentioned, best press man corner in the draft by far. He plays mostly in press coverage and he excels there. His technique is excellent. Rarely see him make a mistake. You can tell his dad was a former all-pro corner. Very physical in coverage, but Tate, you hit on it. He's very good at towing the line between being physical and pass interference, because he didn't have a single penalty called on him all year. Only 7 penalties in 3 years at corner. He turns his head and finds the football at the exact right time, right before it's pass interference. Also very physical, like you guys mentioned, run defending and tackling. and tackling, because unlike Caleb Farley, who we covered, Surtain isn't excellent at that because he's only missed 9% of his career tackle attempts. Farley missed more than 3 times that at 28%. And Tate, you hit on it too, starting on the outside for Nick Saban since he was a true freshman, and he's played really well all 3 years on the outside and has improved every season. So look, if Nick Saban trusts a true freshman on the outside at corner, you know he's special. So Tate, what do you think Surtain's weaknesses are, though?
There's not many. I think that's safe to say. My biggest con, the thing I'm going to focus on, and the thing you're probably going to hear a lot of draft analysts talk about, is he is just average speed. For someone who's so dominant in every other area, speed is definitely his lacking trait. And if you get him downfield, like the long developing routes, the routes that go way downfield, that's when you're going to see him get beat the most, which I say the most, it's like really not that much, but his speed at sometimes can be a bit of a weakness.
Yeah, I mean that's pretty much all I had too. Unlike Caleb Farley, the other corner who we did a video on, not an elite athlete, just doesn't have the short range quickness. And I think the only way to beat him is he's susceptible to the long routes. He gave up 13 yards a catch this year. He got burned twice in the Florida Conference Championship game for 30 yards a pop. He's susceptible to getting beat over the top just because he can't keep up with guys. But other than that, I mean, there's really not much to like. You mentioned technique is good. Sometimes he turns his back to the receiver, especially when going downfield, which I don't really love, but it works for him. So maybe you want to coach that out of him, but if it works, I don't know why you would.
Yeah, I don't think he's the best at feeling receivers once they get behind him, which I think explains more of getting beaten deep than speed. I think his 40 time is not going to be representative of how fast he is. I think he plays faster than it's going to show. And I think you see that when he's swarming to make tackles down in shallow zone coverage, when he does a good job with that. His ball skills, like he tracks the ball really well. I think he could work a little bit more on playing the ball with his hands. I think he does a good job, but I think on a couple plays he's done a better job of disrupting than actually getting his hand on the ball and breaking it up. That's kind of a slight fix there. And then in man, his press coverage obviously very good. He's not the most physical guy right off the ball. I don't know that they're going to be doing a ton of that with him in the NFL just because I don't think he's done a ton of it, which makes me think he's going to play more zone in the NFL. And not that he hasn't played any zone. I think that's the one thing that they're going to have to figure out with him.
Yeah, no, that's definitely one of them. So you guys hit the speed. He's got the size you look for in top 10 pick for corner, but not the speed because like you guys mentioned, Farley's going to run probably in the 4.3. Surtain's probably going to have more average speed in like the 4.5s, which isn't bad. But once you compare it to someone like Caleb Farley, who has the same size as 6'2" and even a little more weight on him too, you'll say, okay, this guy's running a 4.3, this guy's running a 4.5. So the speed thing is definitely my biggest concern. You can see Surtain even get beat by speedier receivers when he's playing off coverage, which he does sometimes. And yeah, Nick, you hit on it. I mean, NFL is trending more and more towards like more zone coverage than true man coverage. And we've seen it sometimes for Surtain, and definitely not bad, but he's definitely more of a press man corner. So if you want to put him in a zone scheme, that's probably not where his strengths lie, but he could be okay in a zone scheme, but definitely more of a press man corner. So maybe, scheme dependent, you probably want him more like in what they're doing, Dallas is doing with Trayvon Diggs, his former teammate, in a press man type role. So PJ, give me the bottom line on Pat Surtain, where he ranks for you, player comp, and potential team fits the next level.
I can't believe you just brought up Trayvon Diggs in an episode about Patrick Surtain, because that is an insult to Patrick Surtain. But fine, we'll move on from that. So right now he's number 10 on my board. I think I have an inkling that he's going to move up, especially in such a strong. I mean, the Notre Dame game, he was just locked down one side of the field. The more I watch him, the more I like him. Number one corner, obviously, that's definitely not going to change. Top 10 player is not going to change. My comp. It's a little lazy, but one of the best man corners in the league, another Alabama guy, Marlon Humphrey. A little bit smaller, same weight at least, but a couple inches shorter, but just another press man guy that has been an all-pro out of Alabama. So keeping it simple. I don't want to go too big, and I don't want to give him another man guy that isn't too good, which were my other options. So keeping it simple with Marlon Humphrey.
What's the team fit, though? Any teams you like?
Team fit, I think, in our mock draft video, I think Nick sent him to Carolina. If the whole quarterback situation, I think Carolina, Denver, those two teams right at the bottom of the top 10. That's where I expect Surtain to go at one of those spots. You could even talk me into Dallas really at 10. They still need a lot of corner help. So those 3 picks, I think that's prime time for Pat Surtain there.
Yeah, I agree. My team fits. I've got the range of like Philly, Denver, Dallas, Carolina, and like maybe if he leaks out of the top 10, like the 49ers or something. I think that's the prime range for Pat, like PJ mentioned. On my big board, he's number 9, maybe goes up to like 7 at max. I think he hangs around that range. Certainly CB1. And my comp, I'm going with Jalen Ramsey, physical man coverage guy, similar size, both dogs. PS2 is probably a little less loudmouthy and, get under your skin than Jalen is. But I think at the end of the day, they're both really physical, really talented man coverage guys.
Number 8 overall, number 1 corner on my board. I actually did for a while go back and forth between him and Farley, but the last few weeks, I don't think it's much of a discussion anymore. Who the number 1 corner is, it's going to be Surtain. Fit, I've had him going to Denver and Carolina when I've been doing, random practice mock drafts in my spreadsheets. But I think if I'm
nerd,
this because it's what I do all day, honestly. Dallas should. If I'm a Dallas fan, I'm just crossing my fingers that he's there at 10. I think that there's not a player that they could use more in this draft than Surtain, and that is a surefire pick at 10 if he's there. I think that's the best spot for them. Also, with their with Dan Quinn being there, a little bit of cover 3. I actually think, although he's good in
cover 3, but
in man, I think I talked about this earlier. I think he's good when he keeps guys in front of him, and I think that the league is going to try and put him in a cover 3 spot more often than not when he's playing zone, which makes my comp interesting in that similar sized guy, James Bradbury, kind of a slower corner guy who can play really well when he keeps guys in front of him, a guy that I don't think has excellent ball skills but does a really good job at the catch point anyways and shadows really well. I think that personally, I think it's a great comp. I don't know about you guys, but I think that's what you're getting from him. I think he's James Bradbury.
I actually thought about James Bradbury too. But currently Surtain number 5 overall for me. 5. I think this guy's a top 5 pick. Number 1 corner. He's a shutdown corner, very physical and reliable in the run game and as a tackler. Tate, you're gonna hurl something at me when I say this, but I think he's the best corner prospect since your guy Jalen Ramsey in 2016. I put him above Okudah from last year, and I'm not just saying that because Okudah was bad as a rookie. I'm not even throwing that out the window, but I think as pure prospects, I would probably take Surtain over Okudah. Player comp, I'm actually happy that Tate went with a guy like Jalen Ramsey because I'm going with a slightly slower Stephon Gilmore. Because Gilmore struggled this year, but at his best, he's a lockdown corner, and I think that's
was
what
the
Surtain
too rich. I don't think that's that bad.
Okay, good. Because
for context, Max texted us that his
been building this up for 24 hours.
Rich for even his taste or something. Because if you haven't noticed, Max has given out Aaron Rodgers comps.
John Elway.
He gives out these comps like candy.
Yeah.
I'm becoming self-aware. So, I was like, I don't want to compare him to another, Hall of Famer like Darrell Revis, or something like that. So I was like,
if you did that, I would have walked off the show. But
no, Stephon Gilmore, lockdown corner, slightly slower because Gilmore ran a 4.4. And like I said, Surtain's going to run like a 4.5. So I think Surtain, though, could be a lockdown corner. Team fit, I'm going to say the Broncos at 9. Bryce Callahan, I think, is a really good slot corner. But, man, they need guys on the outside. And Dallas, Nick, like you said, they're going to be crossing their fingers and their toes that he makes it to 10 because they desperately need corners. And pairing him with his college teammate, who I know PJ hates, Trayvon Diggs, would make for a terrifying duo.
Terrifying for Dallas, maybe, because one side is going to be open all the time.
Diggs is fine. Two big corners that are going to be playing a lot of press situations, so I kind of like that. But yeah, that's what we got on Patrick Surtain. All of us say he's the number 1 corner in this draft, but we want to hear from you. Do you think he's a top corner, or do you think that Caleb Farley and his tools are better than Surtain? So who is your CB1 in this draft, and where would you take Pat Surtain in this draft? Also comment what video you want us to do next, because obviously we saw a lot of you commented Pat Surtain, which is why we're doing this video before someone like Justin Fields or Devontae Smith, who won the Heisman, because we listen to you guys. You guys want to hear Yeah, exactly. And please follow our Twitter and Instagram at Boom or Bust Draft and check out the website below. So for PJ Clark, Tate Sigworth, and Nick Merriam, I'm Max Chadwick. Have a great night.